So it's more of a synth sound, like a filter and a fuzz and a octave, a sine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Like classic pop synth.
Yes.
Is that all within the Stomp?
It didn't start that way.
Okay.
But then for travel purposes, it has evolved into that. Like
Right.
it's bigger pedal board, more pedals, three-leaf stuff. But then I've gotten, like you say, it's sometimes fun when you don't have all the shit.
Right.
And you have to kind of try to find something in the Stomp that will...
What are your, like... Okay, I'm taking the Stomp, I'm taking a really stripped down thing, but what's the 2 or 3 other things you have to have on the board that you can't Ladies and gentlemen, we are so prepared here.
I made this.
Ian Martin Allison, ladies and gentlemen.
I made this little board. Let's see if I can get it in both. We'll get it in this shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. It fits in the inside pocket of a jacket.
Yeah, and the wide shot.
There you go.
This is
what is the
this
capo
is a little
I've been
board.
hearing about?
Yeah, okay. This is the so basically I run into a compressor. I like to have a compressor externally.
Okay.
Because I like to be able to change it depending on the output of the bass.
Sure.
I like to even see some metering.
Yeah.
It helps my placebo prone brain.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So the LEDs give you that, right? They change color. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah.
And then I'm hitting the Stomp. All the sounds are coming, like all the wild sounds, right? Are coming from here.
The heavy lifting is being done by the Stomp. Sure.
Absolutely. And then into the capo, which has drive, but I find that I almost never use that. I find that I'm using it pretty clean because I'm getting my saturation sounds from this.
Gotcha.
I love the Noble preamp. I know you've had one of those
that's
for a long time.
New addition, the block in here, right? Are you using that block in here?
No. When I use it with
you
this,
mean
I
the
don't.
actual Noble?
Yeah, the actual Noble.
Yeah, sure, okay.
Yes, because I have that on this board back here that I'm plugged into at the moment, and it's just clean. It will never distort.
The Noble.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing, it's never made to, even still, people are like, oh, how do you get the Noble to grind? Like, God, you'd have to feed it like a double line level signal. I mean, it won't. And it won't do it in a musical way either. Like, it's not meant to be dirty.
Sure.
This can be dirty in a really cool way. So I sort of think of this as almost like a boutique Sans amp in a sense.
Capo, the J, what is it?
The Jad Freer.
Right.
Or Yad Freer. I don't know how to, yeah. But it also gives you, if you want to just take a direct out and not have any of the preamp, you can do that. I mean, come on, like this, dude.
Yeah,
that's this in here.
First time I've ever seen that. Just a blanking plate for an XLR.
Yeah,
show the people that close up.
Look at this. See, I did this because oftentimes I would, have some juicy thing dialed up here, right? Yeah. And then the engineer would just plug into this, and I'd look down halfway through the gig, and I'd be like, God damn it!
Everything's missing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can get these on Amazon, and they're just like little blanks, and I think it's sort of like pedalboard jewelry. I have it plugged into a DC7.
Perfect. Me too.
Pick on the bottom, just in case I play a lot with a pick. Probably. Geez, more than 50% of the stuff I do is with a pick.
Okay.
And on this little mono board, it fits in the mono tick. And I absolutely love traveling with this. It feels
carry-on?
I'm carry-on only always. Or I try to be. Sometimes if
you got a weekend fly day, clothes, pedals, bass, carry-on.
Carry-on. Wow. 100% always. Nice.
And
cool. So this will, go on the tick and maybe go on the back of the mono gig bag. And it's amazing.
So interesting to me that you don't have an external octave pedal. So you've come to the point where you feel like you can get enough out of the Stomp for that? Because that was always one of the earlier weaknesses for me with the Stomp.
Yes.
Was the octave thing.
So check it out.
It's getting better.
It is
getting better.
Well, so check it out. When they did the Boss Octaver in it, the Boctaver, right? I was so excited, and then I went and played it, and it doesn't have bottom.
Right.
There's no fucking bottom on that sound.
It's a drag.
And it's a drag. Yeah. And then I was like, well, I guess I'm back to the goddamn bass octaver.
Right.
But the crazy thing is, once I spent some time with that sound and I distort it slightly with like a parallel drive, parallel path drive, put a touch of chorus on it, I'm very happy. Oh. Like it does. Here, let me just turn it on.
Which is for people who can't see this, which is no one because it's off shot, but you're about to play this sound in the Stomp sitting next to an original 3-leaf octaver.
Yeah. Anyway. And I love the 3-leaf, but this sound, man.
Solid.
It sounds like Hyper Ballad by Bjork, which is what this is.
Yeah.
Right? It's that, And it's not synthy.
Right.
It does not have that square wavy thing. Let's compare it.
Yeah.
It's not this sound.
Yeah. Electronic music immediately.
Yes.
Sine wave.
But it's almost kind of, in a way, it's really pleasing, just in a different way. And so what I do to it, to kind of like zhuzh it up, right, is just a touch of drive. Nope. A touch of drive and chorus.
Oh.
And then it kind of moves just slightly.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely massive. Like on a stage.
Yeah, sounds good in a big room.
Yes. Yeah. And it doesn't have that sort of hollowed out, like the OC2 thing, which I love.
Oh yeah, it's
has
very specific.
Like a hollowed out thing. But this seems to almost work. This works on like a pop record.
Sure.
In a way that I've maybe sort of struggled sometimes with, quote, like the cool octavers.
Sure.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
OC2s, 3-leafs, etc.
Pearls, those kind of things. Yeah,
exactly.
Do you build your synth sound on top of that? Is that the basis of it?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. So like if I have, here, I'll show you, like I'll pull up a synth sound here. So everything is based on that octave. Right? And so then it's like chorus. So sorry. No, it's octave.
Yep.
Into a fuzz, into envelope, into chorus, right?
And this is all in the stomp now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's all in the stomp.
So how much are you traveling and using an amp versus amp sim, cab sim?
I'm only ever using an amp if I never use it like, I don't use it very often. I'm using it when I'm tracking mostly. I almost never use it live.
Wow, okay.
Yes. So if there's a target, right? If there's like a target that someone wants me to hit.
Yeah.
So there's a setting that I use in here that I call Ultimate Amp. And it's basically an SVT into a dual cab.
Okay.
And what's amazing about the dual cab is you can select like a 810 and mic it up with what you would mic it with, like a classic SVT thing.
Jeez.
But you can also send that signal into like a 112 guitar amp.
Oh,
Because the 810,
so it's like a Mike Kerr Royal Blood set. Like you can split it up like that.
Yeah, you can split it up.
Wow.
And it's not so much to necessarily get a bunch of distortion from the 12, but it's to get like a top that's interesting. So, and this isn't distorted. This isn't crazy. Also, this is a bass with flats on it, right?
Okay.
But it's
yeah.
sounds big and punchy, but it also has some top to it.
Okay, this is your bass, right? This is the...
Yeah, this is a Mike Lull IMA4. Right. It has flats on it.
I'm just like, my first question about it is like, you feel like you can get through a ton of different gigs with this. Like
I do.
Already what you've played, as little as you've played, sounds like big range.
There's a huge range. I mean,
even with flats.
Yeah, and I have another one that has rounds, but... and I actually probably play that one more. But for some reason today, man, like you were coming over and I just started to play this instrument and I was like, oh, I was vibing with it today. You know,
Great.
This instrument sounds like a jazz bass.
Sure.
But it has less top than a jazz. And then if you solo out the neck pickup, it's got a P-bass-esque kind of thing.
Oh, there you go.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the bridge pickup on it too.
Let's go some twang. Wow.
Yeah, it has some twang. But it also has bottom. So for me, it's like a really excellent trigger.
Yeah.
For a bunch of the sounds that I use.
Absolutely.
And the one too that I want to show you that is a big deal. So I'm using it with amps and playing with a pick, or using it with the synth thing, playing with fingers and doing that on with the artists I play for. Yeah. But another big one, my grandparents and my parents loved like Glenn Campbell, and so you're sitting right in front of my dad's old. This is a Vibro King, Fender Vibro King. That's a spring reverb into trem, and so he bought this new in '92.
Okay.
So when I started to play bass, he had this, and he plays a little guitar, and I just would play my bass through this too. And the interesting thing about how Fender amps were made is that the spring comes before the tremolo in the circuit. So what happens is...
Which you've now recreated in the Stomp.
Of course. And so for the longest time, I just thought it was dumb that, like, you know, bass shouldn't do that. But what happens is the spring gets hit by the trem. And then if you play 2 notes...
Yeah. Straight into Johnny Cash.
Yeah. And so I decided, like, there was this moment for me where, you know, I heard Glenn Campbell, you know, Wichita lineman, right?
Yeah.
And I went, oh my God, that sound is so me.
Yeah.
From my childhood. And so it was this really interesting thing of like, whoa, I got way into this. So I built this patch. It's called Montana in the HX Stomp. It has this thing I use called tessellator. You ever use tessellator?
Oh, yeah.
Man, like tessellator. So if you play, right, it grabs a snap, right. And now, you know, now you have chord context. You know?
Absolutely.
And I have to say, man, like that sound in like a recording environment.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Like if people are like, hey, what's the vibe? What should the vibe be?
Yeah.
And you play and you go, people are like, holy shit. Yeah. If it's the right thing. Before you came over too, I was thinking about Adam Clayton.
Oh yeah.
And the first bass line I ever learned as a kid was this. Right?
Yeah.
And to me, it's like the most perfect bass line ever. And like he plays it harder now live, but like on that Joshua Tree record, it's so soft and pulsy and lovely and simple. And he gets hate for, you know, but it's funny because, man, he has this thing of, I've heard him say before, I'm not the best bass player in U2, but I am the bass player in U2.
Oh, that's really good.
I know, because Edge plays bass too, right? But I think like that, the two, right? Glenn Campbell, Cash, Highwayman, and then Adam Clayton, first bass line I ever learned. And then that translates to like, so if you then put on a sound for that, right? Like if you put on the drive and the chorus and the octave, and you play that same kind of thing, maybe you're just hanging.
Yeah.
Like I did a session the other day where there was a thing, you know, that they'd worked on. There were all these different things. Yeah. Yeah, man.
Play. But that's fucking one note. Like what you can do with one note and one melody. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Oh
that's
my God,
awesome.
that was so lovely. What a beautiful melody.
And did you use the parallel loops, the effects blocks for loops within the Stomp to run an external pedal in a loop?
Right. So if I have anything, that's why the Stomp on this board, actually on both my boards, is at that location.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Because my OCD was kicking in. I was like, you said it goes compressor and then it goes to the right?
Yeah. It's because I don't have any switching, right? But I want access to this.
Gotcha.
Right?
Makes total sense.
You know, I have these little plugs in here, but I, you know, pop them out. And when I have another pedal that I need to use, right, I just, of course, do that. And I have some filter sounds in here that I think are really cool.
I'm always pretty amazed by the legacy sounds.
I know.
From the old big, like, DL4 and...
Got a purple guy up there.
Hey, me too. I got one at home. Still in the box.
Oh, amazing. Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
And a DL4 that looks like it was in World War I.
Yeah, so that was the coolest. It is the coolest pedal ever. The looper in that pedal. It's the greatest. Yes.
And only 14 seconds of record time or something crazy. Right. That's the other thing, though, is like if you're using the Stomp in a board full of single pedals, where do you put it? You have to commit to
a location.
Yep. And by committing to a location, you kind of commit to what it's going to do.
You do.
Unless it's the only thing that's doing it.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And I've struggled with that. I think like if I have a external octave, that's cool. That can come before.
Yep.
If I have an external fuzz, cool. That can come before as well. I'm fine with that. But anything else, like drives, I don't want drives to be before everything in the Stomp.
Exactly.
I don't want reverbs or So I find that if I'm using it with external, there's three things that can come before: comp, octave, fuzz. That's it.
Comp, octave, fuzz. Mm-hmm. And the preamp for you is always on the end?
The preamp for me is on the end because I'm never using a preamp unless it's a DI.
Okay.
So the DI is going to be at the end with all, sending everything out to wherever it needs to go. I have a thing called like Ultimate DI in here, and it's all
that's one of your patches.
Yeah, it's one of the patches, and it's for people that don't use any effects, but they want to have like a nice big sort of saturated clean sound.
Yes.
And so part of that is like choosing the compressor.
Yeah.
Part of it's choosing the preamp and EQ. So I'm using, instead of using the Noble thing, I use the Studio Pre and then an EQ and then tape reel. Do you ever use tape reel?
Oh, no, I don't. Is it a Studio emulator, like a tape machine emulator?
Oh, Janek.
Oh, no. There's my week next week.
So right, like, let me just show you without.
Yeah.
So my external compressor is off, right? So just okay.
Yep.
Here's what the tape.
Oh. Hello.
Just give some saturation.
Yeah. Sure.
It just brings saturation up, and it brings like almost mid-range into focus in really a cool way. And it's nice.
Right.